The Undoing is not your usual murder mystery.
It'd be difficult for an innocent man to present more guilty.
It's about coming to terms with the fact that someone you loved all your life did something unthinkable. It's about the experience of being blindsided.
I know who and what I married.
For most thrillers, the reveal of who the killer is would be the big ending moment.
What do you mean who did it? Of course it was the husband. It's always the fucking husband.
Here, it's just the beginning. The Undoing is a suspenseful drama that deals with a gruesome murder and operates on the intersection of wealth, privilege, and justice. But mostly, it's an exploration of truth and perception. The idea that we all have our own truths that might be disconnected from reality, and how our perception of others can influence that truth, how easily we can be manipulated and willingly turn a blind eye.
You? What are you telling yourself?
In order to really understand the subjective nature of perception, we need a strong point of view, something to filter the unfolding events through. In The Undoing, the director Susanne Bier focuses on giving us an intimate access to Grace, a woman whose life is falling apart. This is her story. We're often very close to Grace, the camera emphasizing her fragile and heightened mental state. Instead of clean, natural-looking images, we're thrown into the world of distortions, silhouettes, and reflections. Manhattan is framed through Grace's eyes, an emotional rather than objective landscape, ever so slightly out of focus, creating an atmosphere of unease. This subjectivity extends to Grace's role as a narrator. For example, her flashbacks are not necessarily the reality. She projects her own fantasy onto what she imagines Jonathan's interactions with patients would look like, resulting in dreamlike sequences that tell us more about her than about him. We follow Grace as she frantically searches for answers.
What makes you think you will get the truth from him?
She's the person we empathize with, whose head we're in.
This is fucking bullshit. This is bullshit.
The show makes a point of always checking in with Grace's thought process.
What are you actually thinking? I don't know what I think.
Part of the driving suspense of the story is Grace's denial.
I've read the police reports. I'm curious as to why you'd want to help this man.
Her inner conflict between what the evidence suggests and what she needs to tell herself.
If he were guilty.
Which he is.
And if he's not?
Oh, come on, Grace. He's not who we thought he was. I think we can at least acknowledge that.
Deep down, she doesn't want to accept the obvious.
I'm clutching at straws
Grace.
here.
Because our brains are not logical machines.
Are you familiar with the term confirmation bias?
The pursuit of truth isn't more important than the self-preservation instinct.
You knew him to be a man of empathy. That was a lie. One you told us, and one you told yourself.
We believe what we want to believe. Sometimes, what we need to believe in order to survive.
He's not that monster. He can't be.
This is especially true in people who have lived with narcissists.
What are the traits of narcissistic personality disorder?
Grandiosity, mostly.
In Grace's case, it's not just her relationship with Jonathan. Even her idea of her parents' perfect marriage turns out to be just a story she made for herself.
You loved her. You were devoted to her. You would write her notes. You'd bring her gifts. You'd shower her with jewelry. You Dad, you loved her. I saw it. I remember.
She's creating a new narrative, justifying and excusing her dad's behavior. It becomes a problem when she notices her son doing exactly the same thing.
If he's at the dinner, but if he doesn't have his phone, then how is he gonna communicate with you? Or maybe he's on a plane. Because he did say he might get back earlier, right?
The Undoing deals with the idea that a lot of the time, the truth is right in front of our eyes, and we might still miss it.
I asked you whether he seemed so perfect for you because you had explained to him exactly what perfect for you meant, and he was just giving back what you wanted.
And for a trained therapist, it's even more ironic that she can pick up on everyone else's biases but her own.
I'm just saying there's a particular type of person that you want to be with, and maybe you're a little too quick to see that person in the men that you meet, instead of seeing what's actually there.
But why would she even entertain the idea that Jonathan did it? He's the best of us.
Am I going to die?
Not only is he a doctor, he's a cancer doctor for kids.
You're not gonna die.
You can't beat that. Jonathan's also incredibly charming.
As I've said before, all dogs make my throat close up so no air gets to my lungs, which makes me die, so it's undesirable.
Hugh Grant is a perfect casting choice.
Oh, Christ, they're coming. Oh, sorry. Couldn't place it.
He's deploying his trademark dry wit to throw us off the scent.
Can we hide? Let's go and pretend to be interested in those Hockney, huh?
Jonathan's biggest strength is his effect on people, and therefore the audience. It's like seduction.
Would you like to be washed? Grace? Dr. Fraser with his magic hands.
Lowering our defenses and making us ignore the red flags. Jonathan can sweet talk us into casting suspicions on other people.
I felt it was possible, probable even, that someone else, in a fit of jealousy or rage.
Under the influence of his charm, we go on a wild goose chase to find more and more implausible suspects, just to rule out Jonathan's involvement.
She became unsound, threatening. Got to the point where I felt she wanted to destroy us as a family.
Part of the reason this all works is because Jonathan's great at manipulation.
You would never cheat again, would you? You would never cheat. See?
He's a psychopath after all. He knows which strings to pull and when.
Remember those long phone calls? Even when we had nothing to say, we didn't hang up. What was that about?
Jonathan, helped by his cutting defense attorney, uses the perception of him to his advantage.
You cast a spell. You have done it with everyone you've ever met. With a face like that, I have a handsome, charismatic client, capable of mesmerizing.
This works despite layers of lies he built up over the course of his life.
I just got paged.
Your husband has not worked at Price Norbury Memorial Hospital for a long time.
I don't think Dad is actually allergic to dogs.
You should add that to my list of lies.
And in order to be convincing, he has to believe his own lies.
I just got hit by a car when I was making myself a snack.
He's observed people all his life. He knows what works and what will make him look good. Whenever he opens up, it feels like a rehearsed speech, whether it's for Grace.
Can you bring him? Please bring him.
Or for national TV.
They didn't know all this. I lost someone I loved.
It's a nuanced performance from Grant that is purposefully a little off.
I'm not a victim in a conventional sense, no.
The show paints Jonathan as someone lacking empathy.
He's not capable of remorse or contrition.
Someone whose disregard for consequences of his actions runs so deep that he's able to suggest the unspeakable.
Everyone assumes that they know their own kid.
Are you
Maybe they don't.
Are you actually accusing our son?
No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm just thinking. I'm thinking. My mind is just fucking spinning, that's all.
Despicable.
For Grace, the titular undoing is that of her life as she knew it. She re-examines everything she knew about Jonathan, realigning her own truth with reality.
He killed her.
For Jonathan, it's the opposite. It's the delusional hanging onto his life before the murder.
You know what we had, you and I, was it's too big to undo just
But
like
you
that.
did. You managed to undo it, didn't you?
He's so oblivious to other people's feelings and perception that he's convinced he can make things right again.
I think we can get our anonymity back. Just a question of planning.
The delusion reaches its peak when he's fully expecting a happy ending after almost killing his son.
Dad, it's a red light. Dad!
Grace, come here. Come here. Give me a hug.
The Undoing is a fresh take on a thriller. It uses genre expectations of whodunits, constantly looking for new suspects and discarding the most obvious candidate as a way of depicting the experience of coming out of narcissistic abuse.
The jurors will be studying you for signs. Is he human? Does she believe him?
We're gaslit, just like Grace, getting seduced by Jonathan and swept up by the entertaining spectacle of the justice system that works in favor of the wealthy and privileged. So experience The Undoing again and take another look at all the red flags.
How can you not see this now?
It couldn't have been anyone else.